what is good for kids? Because I like because some people will
Treat
argue.
kids like miniature adults. When I was a kid, and I'm not saying all kids are going to be smart or all kids are going to be smart as me, but stop talking down to them. You don't have, I mean, look at a great children's book. I wrote a great children's book called The Kids Book, but probably one of the greatest children's book you could read is Pinocchio. Pinocchio is dark and it's complex, and Pinocchio doesn't give a fuck, and I mean the book, not the character, but the book of Pinocchio doesn't give a fuck about political correctness because it didn't exist, and it doesn't give a fuck about any of that shit. It wants to tell a story and impart some wisdom, and it's aimed at children, but an adult can get something from it too. Carlo Collodi, and I think his real name was Carlo Lorenzini, but Carlo Collodi, his pen name, was, I mean, in that one book alone, he showed he was a true artist. And I've read some of his other stuff, and it's okay, but it's not in a league with Pinocchio. Pinocchio is his grand masterpiece or whatnot. But that you don't talk down to children. When you know, I, it's interesting. The people who get the most annoyed at me online or whatnot, they're usually these neck bearded white guys who are insecure. They're these guys who would go around in a fucking truck and say, "Oh, Vern, look, there's a nigger. Let's kill him." These are these fucking inbred mutant motherfuckers that don't like me. I can tell you, in all the years that I worked with people, eh, one of the things I found the most curious is that the people who really like me the most tend to be minority people and black people. And the reason is that if a black person acts like an asshole, I'll say, don't be a fucking asshole. I treat them, there's no difference there. I don't put them on a pedestal. I don't look at them as below me. And the same thing I do that with children is that, yes, I'm obviously smarter than a 7-year-old, but if I'm talking to, and I've talked to children before, um, both the children of people I know and my own niece when she was young. And, I talk with them. I don't say, "Oh, goo goo gaga. Yes, oh, you're such a sweet little girl." I don't fucking condescend to people. Why? I don't want to be condescended to. The worst thing you can do as an artist is condescend to people. Always write up, always create art upward for those people up there. Assume that your audience is smart, even if they're 99% of them are fucking morons, because you want to reach that 1% that's going to get something. Most people aren't going to get something. Most of life passes through them and it's shat out the end. They don't, they are constitutionally incapable of getting it. I tell my wife, Jessica, who gets frustrated, I said, she'll say, "Why don't people get it? It's so easy for me or you." I said, "Yes, but we're the freaks. We're the freaks. Most people aren't going to get that." And but there is this network of freaks that uh, Homer, if he existed, was a freak. Uh, Lady, I forget her name, Lady Murasaki, who wrote The Tale of Genji, was a freak. Uh, what's his name? The guy who wrote Don Quixote, he was a freak. Um, uh, and Orson Welles was a freak. Antonioni was a freak. Kurosawa was a freak. But again, it's the freak brigade that drags the rest of the knuckle draggers along, whether they like it or not. Because every generation, and I've said this many times before, so I'm repeating myself, is the same people who are going to write anonymously on something and say, "Oh, Dan Schneider sucks," this or whatnot. Who gives a shit? Because there are going to be more people like you. Once I'm safely dead, and I can't be speaking out and whatnot. I for one time I got invited to speak at a college, and then by the kids. Most people who read Cosmoetica are teenagers, and most of them are young males like yourself. I was invited to speak to a college in Iowa, and after the kids invited me, 3 or 4 of them invited me to speak. The professors put a kibosh on it, and I said, "Well, that's fine." I didn't want to go. I said, "I can do a video, a Skype talk, or whatnot." It was about 5 or 6 years ago, and they said, "No, they didn't think that you were a proper subject or whatnot." And I forget the name of the kids. I never heard from them again. But